The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our JET Reports for GP webinar for this afternoon. We are excited to have JET Reports as our ISV of the month, and even more excited to show you how JET Express works and compare to Management Reporter. So just to get started with some introductions, myself, Chelsea Schlepp, I'm one of the client strategy managers here at Interdyne Artis. We also have Aaron Daniels, your other client strategy manager, Bailey Upchurch, our marketing specialist on the line, and Michael Hoffman from JET Reports. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can go ahead and put them in the question pane of your GoToWebinar window. We will be taking all questions at the end of the webinar, so just go ahead and type them in there as you think of them, and we'll get everything answered for you by the end of the webinar. We will be recording today, so you can get an on-demand version of the webinar following today's live demonstration. Last thing I want to talk about before we get started is our annual user conference. So Vision is coming up again in April. Vision 2018, we're very excited about it, having it at the Ritz-Carlton this year. We did open registration right before Thanksgiving, so we're currently having an early bird special of $99 per attendee that will be good through, I believe, the end of the year. But this will be the lowest price that you'll see for that. So I would definitely recommend taking advantage of that, getting registered and getting it on your calendar. It's going to be a great day. So with all that being said, I will turn it over to Michael, and he will get you started on JET Reports.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Chelsea. Thanks for having me here. Before I keep going, I'm looking forward to Vision already. I know we're going to have a presentation there, but I just wanted to thank Interdyne for having us today and for allowing us to kind of come in and showcase who we are. So.
And I did, thank you for mentioning it, Michael. I did forget to mention, but JET Reports is one of our platinum sponsors this year, so you'll definitely be seeing them at Vision as well.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, I think last time I was there, I almost didn't come home. I love that area of the country, so I'm definitely looking forward to it in more ways than one. So with that being said, we've kind of already done some introductions. Our agenda today, as Chelsea stated, mostly is going to be focused on a solution that we've partnered with Microsoft to create. It's called JET Express for GP. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the storyline as far as who JET is and kind of how we got to this place. Because I do know from traveling and presenting that, it's kind of a mix. Half people have heard of us before and half the folks, haven't really heard of us until recently. So I'm going to chat a little bit about who we are. Most of today is going to be in a demo, I promise you. There will be some Q&A at the end, as Chelsea alluded to. So feel free to type those in. I'll get to as many as I can. I know there's going to be quite a few folks here today. So if we don't get to all of them, I promise I will get you an answer. Okay? So type away. This is kind of a bio slide that I've had. I think the last bullet point is the best, but the reason that I'm here today is that we've partnered with Interdyne Artis and that we're kind of coming together to serve you guys, everybody. And so what I'm hoping to do is educate you on the options that you have with JET, and specifically what we bring to the table for getting really your data out of GP into Excel in a very easy to pick up manner. So I manage basically the GP channel. JET as a whole serves the entire Microsoft ERP market. And so this is what I would call marketing content. They want me to have this slide in here every single time. The statements are 100% true. What's important for you to take away about who JET is really we just make it easy for you to get your data out of GP into Excel in a very simple way. So I've already said that before, but that's really what's important for you to know about JET is we just make it easy to get access to your data. We do have clients all over the world. So you're a company that has aspirations of growing or is already multinational, just know we have experience and resources all over the world. And so the company's been around since 2002, and so they've grown. They've grown from, just a US-based company into much more than that. So offices all over the world. I am here in the great Portland, Oregon, Northwest. So that's where I'm at today. And so our customers, though, are all over the world. So we do have all shapes and sizes when it comes to businesses. And so the reason for that is everybody needs reporting. So it's not necessarily something that's an option in this day and age, is that people need access to their data. So we have every kind of company. I mean, we're looking at like a Talking Rain here. That's the third largest beverage provider behind Coke and Pepsi in the US, which I actually didn't know that. But we also have smaller companies. We have actually recently there was a potato farm that had 2 employees that actually signed up to use Jet. And so the reason I say this is because I want you to know that there's a solution no matter where you're at. So all of our tools build on each other. It's 100% scalable, and no matter where you start, everything transitions up with you. All of the work that you do, even if you're starting with an Express, the free version, it's all going to transfer up. So just know it's time well spent, and it's 100% scalable. It's designed to grow with you. So how did we get here, right? Really, it's kind of a funny story. So as I stated earlier, Jet's been around since 2002. We've had a partnership with Microsoft since 2011. And what that partnership was birthed out of was the amount of happy clients that Jet had. And so what that did for us is it really compelled them to ask, we see what you're doing. We like what you're bringing to the table. I mean, it's basically a seamless tool for all of our Dynamics platforms. And we want some basic version that we can give to folks kind of out of the box. And so that's when Jet Express was born in 2011. So how we are here today talking to you about this re-release of Jet Express last year is basically things are changing, right? Businesses are changing, priorities are shifting. Your options are becoming wider for how you do business in a day-to-day basis. So what Microsoft did is they actually took their management reporter team and they simply moved them to a different division of the business. And so what that meant is that the Dynamics GP team at Microsoft wanted to enhance and improve the offerings out of the box for reporting options long term. And so really what they did is they came back to Jet and said, hey, we like your tool. What we would ask is that you would improve it a little bit, work with our MVPs in the space and improve it, and then re-release it back out to the public. And so, when Microsoft asked you to do something, we went ahead and obviously obliged because of our history. And so what we'll be seeing today is a tool that is built for the future in collaboration with Microsoft, and it is not going anywhere. It's been around for a long time. We're in lockstep with Microsoft. And I know some folks have already moved from FRX maybe to Management Reporter, right? But when Microsoft evaluated all of their options, it just made sense to look at Jet and to ask us to do it because we're built for the future and we're going to be here for all of their solutions long term. Okay, so what is it, right? What is Jet Express? What is this tool? So it has been successful as far as the amount of downloads. What it is, it's simply an Excel add-in. What it does, bolts into Excel, it honors SQL Security Settings. If Anybody knows what that means? Awesome, but that's where the security comes from. And really what it is it's real-time reporting. The difference between what Jet does and maybe what Management Reporter specifically would do is that obviously you're going to get access to financial statements, but it's also going to allow you to do ad hoc database queries. So it's going to read every table, every field, every view that you have, custom or not. So it's going to read everything. The intention and the design behind Jet Express is that it's powerful. Obviously, being in Excel is a plus to make it more powerful, but you don't need a lot of training to get this up and running. It's pretty intuitive, as you'll see, and it is meant to be a self-service free reporting tool. So what that means for you is that when you download it, you will have access to help from both us and Interdyne, but also there's some 24/7 access to materials such as support and training that you'll be able to access on your own, which I'll show you where those are. So, so we gave a lot away, right? Like I said earlier, we worked with the MVPs, and we couldn't give everything away for free, right? And so it's funny, they asked for everything, right? But I think as important as it is to talk about what Jet Express is, it's equally as important, I think, to kind of establish what Jet Express is not. Because, you know, again, we couldn't give everything away for free. We are making some investments into the market, meaning we're enhancing our solutions on all fronts for GP specifically. And so what I would say are obvious ones: business intelligence or analytics. This is basically just a simple reporting tool in Excel. There is no report automation, and I do know some people really do need that, so I want to make sure folks are aware it's not in there. There is a way to access transactional data in Jet Express. It's not as simple as just clicking on a number. And so we'll get into more of that as I get into the demo. There's not really any kind of web enablement, so you can't load your reports into the web. If you are leveraging multi-currency, meaning you have currency conversions that are taking place within Management Reporter, Jet Express obviously can do that because it's in Excel, but it will be a little bit more of a manual process, and I'll talk about maybe a solution to that if that's you, if you're kind of raising your hand like I do that. We do have a budgeting and forecasting tool on the way, but it will not be included in Jet Express, and it is designed specifically for just GP data. Okay, so if you have other systems or other data sources, maybe some internal data sources that you've built on your own or some other third-party applications, Jet Express will not connect to that because it is designed just for GP. Okay, so very good trial version of Jet. If you're considering any of the above for your business, we might want to start talking about what some of the other ones bring to the table right off the get-go. But what I'm covering today, specifically about Jet Express, is what does it do? You know, what versions of GP are compatible with Jet Express? And so I get those questions all the time. I get all of these questions. These are the most commonly asked questions when someone's introduced to Jet. So I'm going to try to cover them all. What kind of reports can I build? What about my trees? You know, is there training? And if so, where do I find it? How do I download it, right? Why would I use it? And that's kind of throughout the presentation. And then migrated reports. So I do know there was a tool specifically built for anyone who migrated from FRX to Management Reporter. So if you have that question, the short answer is yes, we can do it. I'm going to illuminate or maybe shed some light into some of the reasons maybe why you wouldn't want to do that, just because of the flexibility that you have within Excel. So with that being said, I'm going to hop into the demo. We're going to do a financial example, a non-financial example, and we're going to take a look at some of these migrated reports. So First place I'm going to start is actually where to download it. So this is our website, jetreports.com, who'd have guessed. And so the shortcut is, as you scroll to the bottom, there's a little shortcut here. White link says Jet Express for Excel. Okay, so simply click on that. Come on down and you click Dynamics GP. And right here, it's going to show you we're compatible back to version 9. Okay, this is the download. Compatible back to Microsoft Office 2007, Windows 10. So it goes back a pretty long ways. If you're on version 9, you'd be the first person to ever raise their hand and tell me they're on version 9, but it is backwards compatible and then forward up to the latest and greatest. So again, being tied to Microsoft, we're going to be ready for all the new releases, any changes that they make. So have no worries there. And then basically you just simply click download now. It is going to ask for your email address. Okay. Give it a good email address, please. I'm not going to send you spam. That's how you get the download. Okay. Training, same landing page. Okay. Installation training, how to use the GL. So it's properly coined the general ledger function. That's financial reporting. Okay. There's some PDFs in there along the lines of helping with installation. And then also if you're wanting to use the table builder, which is layman's terms for non-financial reports. So you can still build financial reports in there, but most people do something like an AR report or a balance report, which I'll show later, or tax report or something. So this is shipped out of the box. So instead of necessarily providing a conversion tool, because again, Jet Express has been around since 2011, it wasn't designed to specifically replace Management Reporter, but because of our experience in GP, we know that there are some basic reports that everybody needs, right? And so there are 20 pre-built reports. I promise it's not going to ask for your credit card still, but you simply click on this and it's a zip file that downloads in your web browser. You can open those up. Okay, online help and Jet Express community, great place to go and register and learn some tips and tricks and different ways of using Jet. So that's all here, again, just at our homepage. So that's how you download it, okay? What does it look like when you download? I'm just gonna open up a Excel sheet here. This is what it looks like. So as you can see, basically Jet simply bolts into Excel, like I was mentioning. We're gonna point it to our GP database, okay? And so in my case, I have a lot of data sources here, but I'm gonna point to GP. And then basically your companies are listed here. And so it will read all of your databases. So have no fear there. And then basically what you will see are kind of two different perspectives today. I'm going to show you how to design reports from scratch. And then I'm also going to show you what it looks like for when you're disseminating those reports across your organization. You know, how does it appear to them, right? What do they have the rights to kind of access, or what does it look like to refresh or reload data into a report, okay? And so with Jet Express, you're going to get access to two pieces of functionality we already mentioned. One is the financial reporting function, which is properly coined the GL, and then the other is the table builder right here, okay? And so one of the questions that I get asked a lot from customers using GP is, you know, I'd like to see a specific report, whatever that may be, but I'd like to see it split out by my first segment. So maybe first segment, I think by default in the sample database is department here. So I want to see it broken out by department, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example that's not included in the training videos. Okay, so you're not going to see this and then go back to the training videos and all of a sudden you're watching the same example twice. So don't have no fear there. This is kind of specific for you guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and hard code in a date range here that I know will work with the sample data, which is Q1 of 2014. And then under this little function selector, the GL is what you will have access to. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to that now. What the GL is, it's really just a set of questions. Okay, so what it's asking me first under where is, where would you like the information returned? Like in what format should I be returning your data? So on this dropdown, I'm going to take advantage of something called a sheet replicator, which is going to say, okay, you want a new sheet for what? Like, what do you want to see on each new sheet? So in this case, I'm going to have it leverage the first segment, so department. And basically what that's going to do is create a new tab for each department. And now basically I just request what information I want below that. So I'm going to say, we'll just do like account number, name, balance, budget, and variance. We'll just do a variance report here. Same GL function to fill out the rest, right? So in this case, when it says where, same question though, where do you want the information returned? I'm simply going to select rows because I want my information running in a row down my workbook. That's the way I've set it up. What would I like to see in this column is actually a list of accounts. And then it also asks which account. And so we'll see some other examples here shortly where, I mean, you could do a range of accounts. You could select kind of a group. And so there's some operators down here that you'll want to get used to, like the 2 dots down here. That's your range operator. These parentheses are everything maybe except this account, right? And so if you do a range and you add a new account within that range, Jet is automatically going to pick up that account number. And so you won't have to go back in and rewrite those reports anymore. But in this particular example, it doesn't make sense to do any of that because I want all of them for this department. And so if I go down to segment 1, we'll see all of our departments here listed, but this is where it gets fun. This is where I start leveraging being in Excel. I simply go over here into the worksheet and I cell reference that department. And so basically now we see our first account number from that department. And so now I'm going to have this row start talking to itself. So it's going to start talking to each other. So now I can skip where, we're in the same row. Now I can say, what do I want to see? I want the account name. For which account? Well, I'm in Excel, so I'm going to cell reference. Same idea with balance. Come in here for the balance. What would I like to see is the balance. For which account? This one right here. And then the only other thing I'm going to add is the date range. And so this little help tab will actually be very helpful when you're starting because it's dynamic. So if I come into the starting period and cell reference out here, and then come into the help tab again, it's going to say retrieve net change since this date for a set of accounts. Okay, what is the end period? It's telling me right here. And then I'm simply going to cell reference the ending period. And so now it's saying retrieve net change between, right? So that's nice. Very easy to change between posted and unposted transactions, or if you wanted to do separate companies, it's easy to separate them out right here. Okay, so we have our balance. This is the exact same formula for your budget. The only difference is when I go into the window here, I'm going to select budget instead of balance. And now you can see this is updated to my budgets now. And so I have access to any budgets that live inside of the GP database. Okay. And so basically, yeah, I mean, we're doing a little bit of a subtraction here, right? I mean, we're basically done. I'm going to format this a little bit just because I want it to look nice, and to show you how to do that. You probably already know that. And so we'll format this a little bit. And then so the first row and first column are actually reserved for JET keywords. A couple of the most common and popular ones, one is going to be fit, which is automatically going to expand my columns for me. So I'm not cutting things off. And then the other one is a hide, which is actually going to hide this row from the people viewing this report, because the end viewers, they don't necessarily care what function got me the data, right? They just want to see the data. And so now that I'm done designing this report, I come up to the JET tab and simply refresh. And this is going to query the live GP database and actually pull back the information that I've requested in the format that I've requested. So we should see 100s, 200s, 300s, and so on and so forth. Oh, looks like it went to a different screen. Where are we at? There we go. So here you go. We have our 100s, 200s, and so on. Okay, pretty neat. So that's basically an introduction for a ground up type financial report. Okay, and so the viewer, if you were to send this to them, you can actually run the report for them and send it to them, or you can send it to them any way you can share an Excel file. So it could be a PDF, could be a values only workbook if you preferred. And basically, once you send it to them, you can choose to lock the data. There's a lot of different options that you have, but their experience is going to be that they can refresh this report. They could change the date range. There are ways to actually build that in really easily where it pops up and the user can interact with it, which we'll see here in a second. But that's their experience, because basically you could come in here, change this date range, and now totally different numbers, but the same exact report. You didn't have to change anything about the structure of the report. All you did was change the date range and then hit refresh and you'll get the new data. Okay, so next thing I'm going to show is another way to build a financial report. So this is from one of our trainings, and again, not included in the trainings that are online. So something else. And so I want to show you, now that you know a little bit about the general ledger function itself, how you could build something that has more structure to it. So as you can see here, what we've done is we've used basically Excel up to this point. So we've created some functions here, right? And we've created we're using categories, account categories in this case. And then we've had our date range here at the top. So this is really just an income statement, you know, actuals to budgets, how are we doing for September? And so when I come into this cell here, I'll show you real quickly how easy it is to create something once you have a mock-up, once you have kind of a foundation for it. So what I want to do is I want to return information right here in the cell. What would I like to see? I'm actually going to cell reference this. If you can see, I've hid this row here, but I'm going to cell reference in here and say, you know, when I drag this function over, I want it to read balance or budget, right? Which account? I'm not necessarily using an account at this point. I'm using one of my account categories. And then I'll come over here and simply cell reference this. And that's it, right? Other than our date range. So we have our starting and ending period here. Basically what I'm going to do is cell reference those as well. Okay. And so at this point, I'm done. I have this balance being returned, and because of the transactional database, I'm just simply going to come up here and flip the sign. And now I can drag this down the workbook. Simple copy and paste. And then I'll show you something here at the end on how easy it is to customize. Okay, and then I'm going to drag this over, and because of cell referencing, you can see that holds true. I'm going to take out the negative sign and do the exact same thing. just drag this down. Wow, need to get this company needs to get their actuals up. Okay, perfect. So that was easy, right? Well, now I can change any of my mockup. So if I am using categories and maybe I want to change this to cash, you see then the numbers updated for me. You know, maybe I want to change the period to 10. We can see those. Oh, those numbers are supposed to change with it. But basically, that's the way that it works. Is because you've cell referenced the information, you can change any of those. You can change the date range. You can change the categories, or even if you're using accounts like in a balance sheet over here. This one is already filled out, but again, all we've done is we've simply cell referenced our ending period and basically grabbed the accounts over here, running down the workbook. And so what's great about Jet is being in Excel, I can say, well, maybe I want to see this out further. Maybe I want to see more than just 2 years of information. I can just copy this column and simply paste it right next to it. And you can see all the functionality held true. There's no data for 2013 or nearly as much as these 2 years, but you can see it'd be very, very simple for you to take existing reports that you have, started building with Jet and continue to expand on them. Okay, so that's the financial reporting side. And this has all been done using Jet Express. Okay, so free, right, is a good price, and it's pretty powerful, as you can see. I'm going to show you an example of what a report looks like when we use the table builder. And so this is an out-of-the-box report. This is delivered to you with the Jet Express tool, but basically it's a customer balance and credit limits report, right? And we're leveraging a pivot table to make it look nice. And so I could send this out to my sales team. They could slice on their name, right? And they can see, you know, maybe where their priority should be for the day, right? So there's two pieces to a Jet Express report, okay? The first piece over here under the report tab, this is what I would call kind of a data dump, right? This is all of the information that we'd like, and then what we've done is we've chosen what we'd like to see within our pivot table, use some conditional formatting to make it look nice, and added a slicer, okay? And so I'm going to show you really how you would build this from scratch if you were wanting to do so, because again, the great thing about Jet is it reads every table field and view. So in here, if I open up the table builder, we're going to see just that. So the user interface for the table builder really can allow someone without extensive SQL or advanced reporting experience to come in here and actually get access to information maybe they otherwise would not have access to. So under this add table section, we're going to see every single table, field, and view in your database. And so one of the things you'll notice is we've actually added in friendly names. If it's an option, you can do that. It's okay. I personally cannot memorize the entire table structure, but I know there are some people who have, but so it's an option. And then as you scroll down further, you'll see that you're also going to get some custom SQL views from Jet that start with the word Jet that basically take the most commonly used tables and fields in reporting and place them all into their own table in this view. So those, again, out of the box, they're meant for you. And so obviously no cost, but one of the great things about it is that you will see a lot of what you need in these tables for reporting purposes. So really great place to start are going to be these custom SQL views. The report I'm duplicating is built off of our customers table. And you can see I just write in the word customers or start to type it, and it's going to show me. So again, user interface, pretty intuitive. It's now asking me what fields would you like to see in this report. And so as I scroll down, I do know basically I want all of the customer information. So I'm going to scroll down to the customer section and click on some of that. I'm going to grab the balance. Let's do credit limit amount and credit limit type. And you can see here, it's showing me what fields I'm adding, which is great because I could easily just say I don't want that field anymore. And then I'm also going to add in, let's grab salesperson as well. And so you can drag these around in any order that you'd like. But basically for our purposes, I have everything in here that I'd like. The only thing really left for me to do is either add another table or add a filter. And so to replicate that report, I do need a sales territory filter. And then I'm going to place an option in here using the asterisk, which is Jet's wildcard, and click the user defined box. And so now this will pop up to the end viewer as an option for them to change when they're running the report. Okay. So at this point, I'm done. I have all of the fields that I'd like. I've added a filter. When I click OK, I want to point this out, and don't share this with any of the nav friends that you might have because they don't have this with their free version. Basically, what this is allowing you to do is to save your work. So historically, most folks have had to start from scratch if you've used Jet Express in the past. Now, what you can do is you can actually save this work as a template. And then when you come back in here, you can do File Open, and it'll show you that folder, and you won't have to start from scratch if you're just wanting to change or add a field or two. Okay. But at this point, I mean, I'm going to roll the dice, I guess, say no. And then when I come to the Jet tab, I'm going to simply click refresh. It's going to give me that sales territory option you can see here. I'm going to run this report. Here's the first piece, which is our data dump. And then I'm going to summarize this with a pivot table and then just pull in the information that I'd like to see. And then there's some design aspects, like we don't want to see the subtotals, and we actually want to see this in a tabular format. And then I could just add this as a slicer. And so I could click on anybody's name, right? And so really outside of conditional formatting, this is the exact same report. If we go back to the original report, it's very close outside of some of the formatting, right? So it's the exact same report. So that's the table builder in a nutshell. And so those are the two pieces, again, of functionality that you get with Jet. You get the GL, you get the table builder, which you've seen both. For licensing purposes, Jet Express will come with unlimited designers and unlimited viewers. Okay, so no limit to how many folks are using Jet. They just need to install it. A designer is the person, as you saw earlier, who actually creates the report. A viewer is maybe someone who's just interacting with the report at this point. Okay, but again, unlimited of both. You just would want to set them up as either a designer or a viewer when you're installing Jet. Okay, so we haven't looked at migrated reports yet, so I wanted to show you this. So a lot of folks have asked, you know, when you're converting reports from management reporter to Jet, what do they look like, right? How do you do that? And so what we did is we actually collaborated with some folks at a conference, and we copied and pasted the skeleton of a booklet of management reporter reports over into Excel, and then basically used some Jet functionality to create the reports off of that. And so in this direct kind of conversion, what we did is we put in what I would call the options that you have, right, which is in MR, which is current period and fiscal year. And then you have this nice little booklet of reports, right? So pretty nice. There's a couple of things that I actually noticed when I first started looking at this report. One was people are used to doing things a certain way if they've been using Management Reporter for a while, for obvious reasons. And when I opened up this report into actually see how it was created, like what went into the building of this, when I come over to this column here and I click on this number, I'm gonna open up the GL real quick. Now that you know a little bit about it, basically someone has said, I'd like to see the budget because we're doing actuals to budget for this date range up here. So they used a little Excel functionality at the top and hid that row. They referenced their second segment, which we can't see, but then they statically picked, they just picked one of their budgets, okay? Because to me, it was kind of annoying to see my actuals always catching up with my budget, knowing that I would have to create a new report in the middle of the year if my budget cycle was different. But it would have been very, very easy and simple for someone to type in whatever their budget was called here in GP and have a new row here at the bottom and simply cell reference there and just needed one report forever for that. So it's little things like that that I've noticed. And so when I refresh this report, it's actually going to go back into kind of the report mode where you'll see the results. If you notice, basically, there were really no options for me to change other than the few that were here at the landing page, which is fiscal year and period year. That's what folks were used to. So what we did is we revamped this report a little bit. So same report, right? Except in the settings tab, we've added a department and location filter and a company filter. So what that means now is when I refresh this report, I can change any of that. I can change what department I'm looking at. I can change what location I'm looking at, and whatever you'd like to add there is totally up to you. This was just based on sample data. So just know everything's dynamic. Everything can be enhanced in a way that allows your reporting to become flexible, faster to duplicate, faster to write, and much simpler for the end user to interact with because it's all already in Excel. Most people are exporting from MR to Excel, and so it's not a bad idea. Why don't you just start there? So with that being said, that's really what I was going to cover for Jet Express as far as what the free version kind of out of the box with GP is going to do for you. So it does quite a bit. But again, there are some things that we've invested into in the community in our paid products as well. So I'm going to touch on those here lightly here at the end. And so what I will do is I'm going to talk high level about Jet Professional first. So Jet Professional is really where the company started. We were always a financial reporting tool in Excel, but Jet Professional really was our flagship product in the early years. And so what it does is same exact way of designing reports from a financial perspective, but it's also going to give you the ability to distribute reports automatically, meaning you can just automate the distribution of those. You can automate actually the selections that Jet is making. So if you wanted to change your departments, your locations, or your date ranges before they were sent out, you could do that. We also have a web portal. This was launched last summer. It's constantly improving. It's a complete report management system, as it says there. I mean, word for word, that's what it is. It gives you version control, access to reports while you're traveling, or maybe if you don't have Excel or Jet installed at the time, you can still run reports. And so really great way to stay tied into what's important. And it also gives you an additional level of security. It allows you to just share reports with specific people. One-click drill down. So again, in the Jet Express version, there is a way to build in transactional data because you do have access to all of your data. But basically, instead of, I use the analogy, instead of necessarily like riding the bus to work, you get to drive your car now, right? So we can just click on a number and get access to the transactional data. Report design flexibility. basically it's drag and drop reporting if you want it to be. You're not limited to pivot table functionality if you're wanting to pull more. Like if you're wanting to pull sales data, you don't have to have it in a pivot table. And there are some ways to do custom calculations, okay? And so I'm gonna show you a little bit of this. So first off, I'm gonna show you what the drill down looks like. And so if I go over any of these numbers here, you're going to see like a drill down, like a drop down. And so if I come over here to maybe one of these numbers here, oh, I should stop simulating the Jet Express. Let me fix that. Let's come over to this one here. There we go. So this drill down, what it's done is it's going to launch actually a window. Here it is, a window up for me to interact with. Okay. And so what we're going to see is actually all of the accounts that make up this number. So we see the credits and debits amounts. And as you scroll through, you can see whenever I click on any of these accounts, there's still an additional drill down. So what this is going to allow you to do is on any number that you click on that has underlying transactions, it's going to continue to allow to drill back all the way to the journal entry level. Okay, so it used to be a static window, but we worked with some folks who said, hey, people are looking for more, right? Like we want to get down to the journal entry level. So that's the drill down, and you can have multiple tabs open. My database does not have transactions, but as you can see, it opens up a new tab, and you could easily export this information back to Excel if you wanted. Okay, so it's interactive, meant to be a great way to easily get down to the transactional detail. And then if I move to the web portal, I want to show you, I don't know why that's not pulling up. There we go. If we move to the web portal, this is what the web portal looks like. It's definitely getting utilized more and more as time goes on, but our customers basically asked for two things. One is I want one central location for all my reports. I want access to knowing what version I'm using of the report. You know, am I using the right version? And I want it basically to be accessible anywhere. So now you can have any report, anytime, anywhere. It's great. So I'll open up maybe this sales folder. And again, I only see what I've created or someone has actually shared with me, okay? And so I'll come into this salesperson scorecard report. When I click run, same options you had in Excel, which is nice. I'll run this real quick. And this does query the live data, which is good. And then when you actually open up, it's going to ask if you want to download the report or open it in Excel. I'm just going to open it here online. And now you have access to this scorecard, which is nice. So if you're the manager, you see all the salespeople, you can see where they're at and manage no matter where you are, which is nice. So the Jet Professional will come with the reports and the scheduler side. Jet Enterprise, which is a data warehousing solution, is actually going to have a dashboards tab too, which is awesome. It's going to allow you to create dashboards where folks can, again, access these most of the time on a tablet, but allow them to access this data, open it up, and actually do additional analysis on it. So if I open this one up and maybe zoom into, you know, our cost of goods, we can see what's going on. And you can slice on any of this data that's pulled in, which is great. So as you can see, pretty straightforward, easy to use. That's the idea behind a dashboard, is you can analyze large sets of data in a very short amount of time. And so that's kind of what Jet Enterprise does, is it gives you access to all of your data in a very simplified manner. So it takes all of your systems. So if you have more than GP, right, this is the product you're going to want to be looking at. If you want the simplest way to have multi-currency calculated, this is the solution you want to be looking at. Those dashboards I showed you, they can be built in 5 minutes. Honestly, it's drag and drop dashboard creation. It's great. But really the custom key performance indicators as well, those are typically manually done by anybody creating the report. So if maybe I calculate a profit a specific way, or that's probably one of the best examples, because no two companies are ever going to calculate profit the exact same way internally, right? So what I use and what our customers use Jet Enterprise for on a day-to-day basis is to access their data very simply, either in Excel or online, to maybe pull in some information, slice on the data, and quickly make a decision, because that's really the way that you separate yourself in business, is you're making decisions based upon the data. And so that's what we do. We have a pre-built project for GP because we've actually have installed about one of these per day since 2011. And so what that experience has done, and what our customer feedback has provided us, is a pre-built project that now installs in 2 hours, right? And so your typical BI implementation is not a 2-hour process. So it's really great to have about 70% of what you need right out of the box. And so we do have a budgeting tool on the horizon as well. I'll talk more about that on the next slide. But that's kind of Jet Enterprise. So the next piece I want to talk about is the budgeting tool a little bit. So I've alluded to pretty much everything on this screen already, right? We're committed to Microsoft Dynamics. We've been here. We're always going to be here. We began plumbing for the cloud back in 2011. And so recently, 2016, there was a partnership announced with Microsoft about the exact same time we were launching the web portal. But I do want to talk about the growth that's happening here, the commitment that I've seen by everybody here to improving and making our solution better. We do have an entire team dedicated to a budgeting solution. And so you will need one of the paid solutions to do that. Again, it won't be available with Express, but it is coming. And so it'll work with either solution, Jet Professional or Jet Enterprise. I've heard spring of 2018 is a firm kind of release, so you should expect something kind of leading up into that. And so I'm not sure if I'll be able to show anything at the conference for you guys if you're going to be there, but hopefully I'll be able to. And so again, thanks for being here. With that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to Chelsea and the Interdyne Artist team to close things out and maybe have some questions for me to answer.
We do have a few questions. So to start off, first one is, can Jet Express coexist with Management Reporter, meaning can we use both at the same time?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay, great. And then can you describe the multi-currency differences between using Jet Express and Management Reporter?
Yes, so Management Reporter is leveraging something called a data mart. And what that is it's basically a middle ground. It's a place for some of those custom calculations to take place. It's what I would call a vertical data warehouse, because that's basically what it does, is a couple of things. Jet Express does not have that intermediary step. So basically within Excel, you would be manually managing the calculation formulas, meaning you would be cell referencing to a currency conversion of some sort, versus in Management Reporter where a lot of that takes place within the data mart. So when you're looking at Jet Enterprise, what that has is you know, a data warehouse, a true data warehouse. So within that, we can build the vertical that Management Reporter is currently doing. So you'd still have all of that same functionality you're used to. The one difference is above and beyond that, you could create an income statement or a balance sheet or really any report and actually have a drop down where you can change the currency just directly within that report as easy as you change a date range. So that's kind of the big picture.
Okay. We are currently using reporting trees in Management Reporter. What similar functionality exists in Jet Express?
Yes, so with Jet Express, you can use a couple of different things. One is, I mean, what I showed was a very, very basic version of what some people are using trees for, which is breaking things out by department. The other thing you can do is there's grouping features within Excel where you can actually group and create different levels within your reports. So my suggestion would be, because I've ran into this a lot, would be to give it a shot, right? Download it, you know, watch some videos and basically try. And if you get stuck, you can always reach out to Chelsea or myself and we can help you understand better what the next steps would be based on what you're wanting to do.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, can Jet Enterprise be self-hosted?
Self-hosted. So we do not host your data, I guess. I do know that there are some options out there for you with that respect, but our solution will work in any environment. So if it's on premise, if it's hosted, if it's in Azure, if it's with Interdyne Artists, I mean, it's going to work everywhere. It's totally up to you.
Okay, and then I think that's all we got. Just to reiterate, we will get copies, or sorry, we are recording the presentation, so we will get copies out to everyone who's attended. So you'll have that on demand for your for viewing or sharing
Nice.
for other members of your organization.
Nice. One last thing I want to mention. Anybody who was on the webinar today, there are some year-end incentives that are happening. So if you mention this to Chelsea or Aaron, when we touch base, I'll be sure to mark that in your file so you can take advantage of that if you would like.
Great. Thank you very much, Mike. And I don't see any other questions again at this point. So thank you all very much. Again, our contact information is on the screen right now. So if you do have any questions or want any follow-up, please feel free to reach out to myself or Aaron. And thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.